Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thanks so much for taking a little bit of time today to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. And today I'm going to be doing one of my latest commander projects, which is my Queen Allenal token deck. I've talked about this deck for several months, as I do whenever I'm building a commander project, because I want to make sure that I'm testing out cards, talking about cards I've played with, etc., etc. And I'm really excited about this deck. It's pretty powerful. I feel like you're running a lot of cards that not a lot of people know, or at least I am in this build. And you have like your couple heavy hitter, more expensive cards, but you have a lot more of the inexpensive cards. I will very likely do a budget deck tech of this deck because I do really think that you could build it budget. And we'll talk about those more expensive cards as we get there. But this deck kind of has like two sort of main goals. The first goal is to pump out a lot of tokens, either swing with those and go very wide. This is not a token buff type of deck. This is not your running intangible virtue and things like that. The reason why I didn't want to do that is because that was similar to my Alila deck, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted this to just be mass Roran tokens, but it's also about pumping her and making her super big, giving her a little bit of evasion, giving her a little bit of trample and things like that. I don't think I have like a ton of ways of doing that, but if like the board is clear, nobody has any blockers, I can just swing with her and she's super big. This deck is really fun. I really enjoy it. So yep, this is the commander. Let's just start talking about the mana base. We've got 35 lands, and we have an even split of forests. I feel like ever since that one video when I mislabeled my lands, I'm now determined to make sure that I say my lands correct in everything. These are forests. I run 10 of them, and then I run 11. I apologize. I thought I had an even split of these. I have one more of these. So I have 11 of these. The deck will be listed in the demo below as well too, on tapped out. So you can see it. You can see how much it costs and all that stuff. So I run those. I run a lot of basics. That's just kind of what I like to do. And then for my specialty lands, the first one I run is Arctic Treeline. I like that this is a fetchable land, which actually, speaking of, I don't have the fetch land in here. I just didn't have an extra copy, so that is definitely going to be something that I make my way on my list because I do need that. But anyways, Arctic Treeline. Then I have Bountiful Promenade. These ones are not typed. I do like them though because I'm pretty much always going to be having 2 or more opponents, so it enters untapped. I have Command Tower. Of course, I have that. I have Evolving Wilds, my favorite art personally, and the best art of Evolving Wilds. And similarly to that, I have Terramorphic Expanse. These are great. Next, I run Field of Ruin, which is my favorite land destruction card because it gets everybody a land, so it's very like nobody's gonna kind of like go to remove this or anything. I always run one of these in pretty much every single one of my decks. So this is my favorite. Next, I run Fortified Village. I think just because I honestly had the extra and I had the foil, so there you go there. It's not typed. This might come out eventually for something else, but it's here for now. Next, I run Gavany Township. Gavany Township is kind of there just in case I have like nothing really able to do with my mana. I don't think I've gotten this off many times because I'm pretty much always doing something with my mana, but it's there just in case I need it. I do like Gavany, I just haven't really got a chance to trigger it. Next up, I run Crozen Verge, which if you're running these colors, I would definitely recommend this card. It's great. Then I run Myriad Landscape. This one only is like the typed, but I really don't find myself starving for colors and starving for mana in this deck. I run Radiant Grove, which this card is really pretty, by the way. This is very pretty in foil. It's just a very good card, and it is typed, which is great. I run Reliquary Tower because the way that this card draw works in here is and we'll see it when we get to it, you draw a lot of cards at once. You need the Reliquary Tower. I don't run other maximum hand size things because I really haven't found that I need it, but Reliquary Tower is definitely in here and it needs to be. I run a Temple Garden, of course. I gotta run my Shockland so I can have my colors, and this art is absolutely stunning. This is from Ravnica. And the last land that I run is Temple of Plenty, Little Scryland. Okay, so that's it for the mana base. Let's now dive into the rest of the deck. So we have one Planeswalker. I'm not really super into running a ton of Planeswalkers, but Elspeth Sun's Champion is like my favorite Planeswalker. I will go out and say here she's really great. I like that she's a mini board wipe as well in one with her minus. And I'm not really going to be hitting my stuff because again, our stuff is going to be smaller. It will hit our commander very likely because our commander will, most of the time it's bigger than power 4 or greater because we run a lot of things. But anyways, yeah, I do run Elspeth in here. I have gotten the ult off with her in the past. She's great. She's like so incredibly good. And she makes those soldier tokens as well with her uptick. She's the best planeswalker protecting herself. There's a really solid chance that she will not die unless there's flying, and there's not a ton of flying in here. So yeah. Okay, let's go into artifacts. So the first one that I run is Archaeomancer's map. I actually had an extra one of this. Paul got this for me as a gift, and I didn't really know where I wanted it to go, and so I just decided to slot it into here. I have not played with this card yet. I have seen it being played in other Commander games. I just haven't personally played it, but I do think that this card is very strong. In ETBs, you search for up to 2 basic planes. It is basics, but like we have a ton, so I'm not really worried about that. When a land ETB is in opponent's control, if they control more lands than you, you may put a land onto your hand into the battlefield. So I think that's really cool, and it doesn't enter the battlefield tapped, which is really cool. So great card. Then I have Lightning Greaves, and really similarly to that, we have Swiftfoot Boots. These are primarily going to be used for our commander. We don't have a ton of creatures in this deck. Let me rephrase. We don't have a ton of creatures in this deck. We have a lot of creature tokens, but we don't have a ton of like creatures. So it's primarily going to be used for protecting our commander because she will be susceptible to removal. So these are both great and auto include for me in all my commander decks, and they're also very inexpensive. I think Lightning Greaves is a couple bucks. And then I have Perilous Vault because it is my favorite board wipe. We do have a couple one-sided board wipes in this deck, which is really great. Perilous Vault does hit everybody, but it's, in my opinion, it's just the best. It's very CMC heavy. I don't really find that a problem because by the time I'm going to cast this and activate it, it's going to be at a later point of the game where I need to remove the board. And yeah, Exile and Online Permanent. It's a great card. Next, I have Scepter of Celebration, which if you're planning on building this deck, I would highly recommend this card. I think it's about $5 or $6 or so. It's definitely worth it. It gives her a little bit of a buff, +2/+0, and that trample, which is so incredibly critical. When she deals combat damage to a player, you create that many 1/1 citizen tokens. It does equip for 3, so it's a little bit potentially CMC heavy. It's 6 in total, but if she dies, this falls off. You can just recast it, or you can just reattach it, re-equip it. I think this card is really great. I've gotten a lot of tokens off of this when I've played with it in the past. It's definitely an artifact that people want off the table. Skull Clamp makes 1000% so much sense in here when you see the amount of 1/1 tokens we're going to be making. I don't make a ton of tokens that aren't 1/1s, and we'll talk about those obviously when we get to instant sorceries, but Skull Clamp is in here. It is just such an incredible card. Skull Clamping our tokens so we can draw 2 cards. It's just a really steady card draw card. Soul Ring. And the last one that we will run is Whisper Silk Cloak. I do like how Whisper Silk Cloak says that it can't be blocked and has Shroud. This will be replaced though with a Mithril Coat, which is a newer card to me because it's indestructible and it gives something else and it gives the creature indestructible. I do like this card. That's not to say that I don't like it. I'm just telling that's going to be replaced by that in the future. I do like that this says can't be blocked. I'm also realizing that I'm missing a Rogue's Passage in this deck, so that's definitely going to be on my list. I need to get those 2 lands, so I got to add those to my list at the end of the video. Okay, next up for enchantments, we have 11. The first one we have is Anointed Procession, of course, because we're generating a lot of tokens, and this helps us get tokens. So, yep. Truly, I don't think you've understood the power of Aura Shards until you've seen it in a deck like this. When you are able to play one card that gives you 3 creatures, the fact that you get to destroy 3 artifacts or enchantments, I don't need any other artifact and enchantment removal in this deck. I mean, aside from like board wipes, because this is just hate on its own. This card is absolutely absurd in this deck. If somebody is playing an artifact enchantment strategy, like this card absolutely hoses and absolutely destroys them, and it's a great time for you. It's terrible for them, but it's great for you. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. It's also like 30 cents. The foil's also really inexpensive, and that is Battle for Brettguard. This card is really, really cool, and I like that it does different tokens. So the thing about this build is that I'm trying to generate different types of tokens, and like all different sorts. I think right now I have over 20 different sorts of tokens, which I will show you my tokens at the end. They have their own separate deck box because that's how many tokens different types we're generating. I like that the 1 and the 2 are 2 different types. We have the human warrior and then the elf, and then the 3 is like one of the reasons why we're running so many different types, because for any number of artifact tokens and our creature tokens with different names, you create a token. So like that is so incredibly good, because if I had like 5 1/1 humans, I would only get one of those extra ones, right? So yeah, this card is awesome. I love it. Then I run Doubling Season because, I mean, of course we do. We're not doing the +1/+1 counters, but we are doing the tokens. So the fact that we're able to get all of those. Oh, well, actually, I'm sorry. This does synergize with Elspeth, Sun's Champion as well. So Elspeth does enter and you can ult her on the turn. I actually think I did that a game, which was really funny, but Anyways, doubling season and auto include in here. It's very expensive, but it is definitely worth it. This is such a fun card, Fists of Ironwood. So this card is another one of the cards that gives trample, but what I love so much about it is that you put 2 1/1 green Saproling tokens, so it's a different type of a token for us, and it gives her trample, which is so incredibly cool. I love this card so much. The amount that you get for 2 mana off of this card is ridiculous. It's great. Because I'm playing green and white, of course I'm playing Mirara's Wake. Great card. Mirara's Wake does buff our team, which is important. The main reason we're running it, of course, though, is because we get our double lands. We're doing stuff with our mana constantly. There's really not like dead draws in this deck. Like everything we draw, we want to cast, you know? So Mirara's Wake, we want to capitalize off of it, obviously. Next up, we run Parallel Lives. Again, of course, we got our token doublers in here, which is absolutely essential. Oh, one of my favorite token gen things, that is Promise of Bunry. I love this card. Back when I played Modern and I had black-white tokens, this was one of the top cards that I had in this deck, and I like remembered about it and like had to buy it for this deck because that's just how much I love it. What I also like about this card, I like many things, but the fact that it's a creature dies, a creature you control, which is like the easiest thing in the world to do because we're playing with a bunch of 1/1s. Like it's so easy. You just sacrifice this and you get 4, and they're colorless spirit tokens, which is so cool. So it's a different type of token because there's a lot of spirit tokens that have colors, but the fact that this one is colorless is really cool. So great card. We are of course playing Smothering Tithe because I mean, come on, would it be surprising if we didn't play this card? It's great. We get those treasure tokens. We will use them. Then 3 blind mice. Oh my gosh. This card is so cool. So it gives us a 1/1 mouse. And then I get to create a token of any token that I want to. And then my team gets +1/+1 and vigilance. So a little bit of a buff. I like it. It does all these different modes, which I like all of these. This card, Wedding Announcement, is very strong. I do think that I am going to take it out though. Not because I don't like it, but because the flip side of it, well, okay. So you put an invitation counter on it. The flavor of this card also too is really fun. If you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card, which is easy. Otherwise, you get a 1/1 human, and if it has 3 or more invitation counters on it, you get to transform it. So I guess like, yeah, okay. And then the back though is a buff, and I just don't feel like that's like the thing that we need to be doing in this deck. You know what I mean? So this is like definitely on the chopping block. Again, not that I don't like it. It's a good card, but I don't think for the builds that I'm doing, it's like as, you know, what exactly I'd like. So anyways, let's go into the creatures. We do not have many. We only have 6 because again, all of our token gen stuff. So the first one we have is Benny Braxuologist. This is an expensive card, but I love it. It's got Convoke, but I honestly think like it doesn't really need it because like I can just cast this card for 4 mana, it's fine, but it's got the Convoke just in case. And at the beginning of each end step, what I like about this is I can create tokens on other people's turns and I can get that, and then I get to draw a card, which is awesome. This is an awesome card. It's expensive, it's like 20 or so bucks, but it's definitely worth it. It's a great card. Oh, I love Kadira, Caller of the Small. She's awesome. She's a very inexpensive card too. So whenever she deals combat damage for each token, I just get a 1/1 white rabbit. This gets so out of hand. I will do this and then I'll get like, and what I really like about this too is that it stacks on top of each other. So like if I have 7 tokens, I get 7 rabbits, then now I have 14 tokens, and the next time it doubles. You see what I'm saying? Like it gets out of hand so incredibly quickly. This is like one of the best cards in the deck. It's amazing. Okay, the next card is Hangerback Walker, which is great. I like that this is kind of like a bigger type of card, like in the sense of like I can play this early game or I can play this end game. Like it kind of works at different stages of the game, which I really enjoy. And it gives us a little bit of the flying Thopters when it dies, which is really great because we don't have a ton of flying in this deck. That's kind of one of our weak points. So Hangerback does help us. And speaking of flying, we have Hornet Queen. I love Hornet Queen. I think this card is just so incredibly fun. It gives us those insect tokens that have Death Touch, which is really great, and they're flying, so it's going to protect us. This is definitely one of the ones that I want to copy. Like if I have any of the things where I can choose to put a token of a copy of anything, it's probably going to be those flying with Death Touchers because it's so great. Mentor of the Meek is a very solid inclusion in this deck because I'm having basically all of my things have power 2 or less. There are a couple of things that don't, but for the most part, everything has power 2 or less. And I get to pay 1 and draw a card. It's great. And this is like whenever it happens. So I can do this multiple times at a turn and pay 1 for it. It's a great card. And the last one is Scoot Swarm, because this card gets out of hand so incredibly fast. What's not to love about Scoot Swarm? I mean, you don't love it when it's on someone else's board, but when you have it, it's fun. Next up for instance, we have 14. The first one is absolutely stunning. We have some really fun combat tricks in here. This card is one of them. Arc Geonosis. The art, by the way, is so pretty. You create the 1/2 spider tokens where X is the number of creatures attacking you and prevents all combat damage that we would dealt by non-spider creatures. So the fact that I get to make a bunch of blockers, block other things, my spiders live, and that's just going to give me multiple spiders probably for only 3 mana, and it saves me. This card's awesome. I love it. I have Charge of the Mites in here just because this is a different type of token card. I will say I am probably going to take this out because I don't feel like the toxic is like what I want to be doing. The only reason I'm running this is because like I got this in foil. Like I got it in a trade and it's foil. But I just don't think that this is the type of tokens I would like to be making. So like when there's a different type out there, I think I will make that instead. So another fun combat trick we have is Druid's Deliverance. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to me. And I get to populate, which is really, really awesome. So it's only 2 mana. It's a really great combat trick, and I love the little foil tree here. It's pretty. Then I have Enlightened Tutor. We don't have like a ton of artifacts in enchantments. We have like 11 enchantments and only 8 artifacts. But there's some really solid options in there. This can get us our aura shards. If we need to blow up artifacts, enchantments, it can get us our token Zubbler and all that sort of stuff. So I do love Enlightened Tutor. It's a great card. Then I have Heroic Intervention. I will say, like, we have a couple of these combat tricks and they're all really, really strong and really cool. The fact that I can just, have all my 1/1s be indestructible, block all their things, and get them hexproof, like, it's just so incredibly cool. And it's only 2 mana. I was so happy when this card got a reprint. It's great. I have Path to Exile. I'm also just realizing in here I don't have Swords to Plowshare. What's funny actually is I don't think that I had an extra one, but I actually just got a foil and then I took the non-foil out. So I can actually go and put that in here. So that is definitely something that I have to do. If I had remembered that before this video, I would have done that. But just know that it's coming. But anyways, Path to Exile, it's a quintessential card that gets rid of things. They get a basic, you don't care, it's exile. 1 mana, not a whole lot to say. One really strong token gen card is this card called Predator's Howl, which I don't think a lot of people know about. It's only ever been printed 2 times in Conspiracy, and then it was either like a commander product or it was like the list or something like that. It's 4 mana to put a 2/2 wolf, but that's not when we're doing it. We're doing it with the Morbid to get 3 2/2 tokens if a creature died. Guys, creatures die all the time. That's like the easiest thing in the world. So the fact that I get to pay 4 mana to get 3 2/2s is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think I've drawn this card since I've gotten it, but I can't wait to cast it. It's great. Next up, I have Raise the Alarm. Really simple token gen stuff. That's what I'm talking about. Like a lot of these stuff are like these foil, like these cards are really inexpensive. Like this is like card is like 2 cents. This is great. It synergizes great with our commander. It does everything we want it to. It's instant speed, 1 power for 1 mana. We love it. Next, I have Rally for the Throne. Because I like the flavor of this card, it creates 2/2 white humans. And then if I do have the 3 white mana to pay for this, which also feels really easy to me, I do gain 1 life for each creature I control. I don't have like a ton of life gain in here, but that seems really great if I'm in a desperate situation. This card seems really cool. I don't think that I've drawn it yet, which is Rite of Harmony. Whenever a creature or enchantment ETBs, probably not as much the enchantment. You get to draw a card for only 2 mana, which is incredible. And it's got that flashback cost, which I really like. I cannot wait to draw this card. It seems really great. So see what I'm saying about our like way that we draw cards is very explosive because like there's a potential that I could just draw like 5 whatever cards in a turn. Another combat trick, Rootborn Defenses. I get to populate and creatures I control are indestructible this turn. Very simple, not a whole lot to say here, but it's a good card. Another way that we get multiple tokens is Second Harvest. For each token I control, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of it. This is another card that really capitalizes off of the fact that we have so many different types of tokens, which we love. Secure the Waste is another card that gets us like another one of our like late game cards where it's like, we're desperate, we have like 7 mana, not a lot to do with it, we secure the waste and get a bunch of tokens. And the last instant is Spore Swarm, simply because this card is absolutely stunning. Like, it's so pretty. The art on this is so incredibly cool. And it is 4 mana to get 3 1/1 Saplings, so good card. And the last one is our sorceries, which we have 24, the bulk of the deck. The first thing we have is Audience with Trostani, and I said as soon as this card got spoiled, I immediately wanted it and I immediately picked it up. This card's awesome. Not only does it get us a 0 plants, which I don't think we have anything else that gets us the 0/1 plant tokens, we get to draw cards equal number of differently named creature tokens. This is another card that capitalizes off of this. Like, you could build this deck being like, I want to do like 3 different types of tokens. I went for all the different types, and it was so funny because my friend Lindsay was like, Tracy, I think like this deck would drive me crazy. Like, if I were to keep up with all these different types of tokens. I love it, and I'm here for it. Like, it's so fun, and it's like a totally different deck. Different from all my other decks, which I absolutely love. So I love Audience with Trostani. Camaraderie is honestly ridiculous. It's one of our higher CMC stuff. You're going to see our curve is pretty low in this deck, and Camaraderie is one of our more expensive things. A lot of our more expensive things too are like, it's like Hanger Backwalker, Secure the Waste, so it's like stuff that's like more, you know, like that, like more, like you could put a do at any point is what I'm trying to say. So you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of creatures you control, and then my team gets +1/+1, so definitely can draw a lot of cards and do quite a lot of damage with this card. Next, I have Captain's Call. Very simple. It's 3 mana. We get 3 1/1 soldier tokens. Very simple card. For a one-sided board wipe, we have Crisis of Conscience. I knew as soon as I saw this card, I was like, I have to pick it up. It's also a very inexpensive card, which is really great. Obviously, we're picking Destroy All Non-Land, Non-Token Permanents. We might hurt ourselves with some of our artifacts or things like that. But the fact that we get to just keep all of our tokens and probably swing and kill somebody, or possibly the entire table, is great. We have Cultivate, guys. What do you think of this Cultivate art? I think it's pretty. It's very, very pretty. It's like an F&M promo, I think. And we have Kodama's Reach. Not a whole lot to say here. We just have a little bit of mana acceleration. We don't have a ton in this deck. Like, we don't have a ton of, like, you would think that we might have some of, like, the more artifacts and things like that. But, like, honestly, guys, like, we don't really need it. Like I said, our curve is pretty low. And then our mana acceleration is coming from cards like this. We also have Farseek, which is, you know, very similar to a lot of those other mana acceleration cards. It's very great. Gets us what we need. We also have Harmonize in here to draw 3 cards. A very simple card, but I love Harmonize. I run this on a lot of decks. Then we have another one-sided board wipe, and that is Hour of Reckoning. It's got Convoke just in case, but I also think even casting this card for 7 mana is totally fine. Destroy all non-token creatures, so we are going to be blowing up everybody's things except for ours, which we love. Also, I love this art too. This is my favorite art. This is from Ravnica City of Guilds. So pretty. Now, Hour of Revelation does hit us. This is a card that might come out at some point. Not because I don't love Hour, but because I want to maybe replace it with a card that maybe is more one-sided. Right now with this card, I have 5 board wipes. And so I might just take this and then replace it with another board wipe, or just go down to 4 board wipes. Like, either is fine. So I do like Hour of Revelation though, to the fact that there can be 10 or more non-land permanents on the battlefield, so it costs 3 mana is like the easiest thing in the world to do. People are going to be playing those things. It does just run non-land permanent, so again, it will hit your stuff, but I honestly, like, when you're casting this card, you're doing it because you need to do it, you know? The next card is Idealectic Tutor. We don't have a ton of enchantments in this deck. You know, we only have the 11. I still think it's worth it to run this card because our enchantments are really strong. You know, like, we're running our Doubling Season, those Aura Shards, the Smothering Tide, like all that sort of stuff. I do think that it's still worth it to run this card. It might be a card that at some point it might come out for something else or whatever because I don't feel like I need it, but I do really like this card. There's a good chance that you've probably never seen this card before, and that is Kayla's Command. When I was looking at cards that would work in this deck, I was looking for different types of tokens, and I was kind of looking for cards that kind of do a couple of things. What I really like about this card is that it's a mana acceleration, so I can tutor for a basic plains, reveal it, put it into my hand in the shuffle, and I can also get that 2/2 colorless artifact. I don't think I've drawn this card yet, but that was my vision and my intention when I put this in the deck. I could possibly put a +1/+1 counter on a creature I control and gains double strike for my commander. That's also a possibility. Or I could gain life in scry 2 if that's another possibility, if it's something I need to do. But I like the flexibility of this card, and it's only 3 mana. This is also, and you'll see this when I do my tokens, I actually don't own the 2/2 colorless artifact construct yet, so that's something I would like to get. I don't have a ton of these types of effects, but Overrun was kind of a big finisher card. Maybe it's a little unnecessary, maybe I don't really need it, but I think it's fun. I mean, it gives my team trample and +3/+3. I'm probably playing this, if I have like 10 1/1s, and then they all get +3/+3, I've got 10 4/4s, which is pretty hard to deal with. Great card. Queen's Commission as a type that gives me a different type of token. It gives me a vampire, and it's 3 mana for 2 power, and they also have lifelink, which is really cool. Rampant Growth, just as another card that gets us a lands. Not a whole lot to say there. Okay, I am a sucker for dice rolling cards. I've just decided this about myself, or realized this about myself. I love it so much. Recruitment Drive, I get to roll a d20. Either way, to me, I feel like I'm capitalizing and getting a really great deal of this card, because if I get anywhere from like 10 to 20, I'm getting multiple knights that are 2/2s, which is one of the few cards that gets us something other than a 1/1 in here. And also, I don't own the 1/1 white soldier token, so that is on my list of things to get. So next, I have Regrowth. If I'm playing green in Commander, there's a really good chance that I'm playing with this card. I like it. I cast my spell, I cast my board wipe, I cast whatever card that it is that I need, and then this is like a way to bring it back. It's like my only graveyard recursion thing in here. I tend not to go very super hard graveyard recursion unless it's like a deck like Tasigur, but I like to have a little bit just in case. Whenever that cats versus dog things came out and this card was not in there to be foil, when I tell you how sad I was so bummed, guys. Release the dogs. It is 4 mana for 4 power. You get dog tokens, which is so incredibly fun. I love the flavor of this card. I love the art. Please come out with a foil version of this card, please. The fact that like this didn't in the dogs versus cat thing was honestly a missed opportunity in my opinion. I was super bummed about that. This card is so cute. I really like it. Okay, very similarly to Kayla's command, I have Return from the Wilds. So I get to choose 2. My thought behind this is, again, I'm getting a B-Sec putting onto the battlefield tapped and getting a 1/1 human. I can get the food token if I need to, but my ideal is that I'd probably be doing those first 2 things, getting a lands and getting the 1/1, which is great. Another different type of token I have is Servo Exhibition. Very simple. It's 2 mana for 2 power. Really simple, not a whole lot to say there. One of the more explosive cards in the deck, Shamanic Revelation. It's not about the ferocious. I might be gaining 4 off of Allenal, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to be drawing a ton of cards with this, and I definitely have before. I have, 10 tokens. I'm going to draw 10 cards. Absolutely ridiculous, absolutely explosive. Love it. SRAM's Expertise. I love this entire cycle of the expertise cards. I just think they're so fun. So the way that I look about this card is it's 3 mana for 3 power. So then you get a servo for each, for 1 mana for each servo. And then I can put a card or cast a card with CMC 3 or less, which is so much of this deck, for free. For free. This card does every single thing that we wanted to in this deck. Every time I see this card, I get so excited. I just really, really like it a lot. It's great. Another board wipe. I love this one. The Battle of Bywater. It's a 3 mana board wipe. Destroy a creature's power 3 or greater. There's a good chance that I'm going to be destroying my commander with this card, but that is okay because I am destroying basically all of my opponent's things that are power 3 or greater, and then I get a food token for each, and guess what? My tokens are unscathed, unharmed. Love it. It's 3 mana. This card is an auto include for me. It's great. And the last card in the deck, and very simple, is 3 Visits because it gets me a forest and it does not enter the battlefield tapped. Great card. I run 3 Visits in a lot. Okay, guys, and that is everything for my Queen Allenal Commander deck. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this deck. It is a ton of fun. Like I said, you can totally build this deck budget with like a couple of bigger, higher expensive cards. Things like Doubling Season are expensive. I will say cards that are in my list is that Mondrake card, Glory Diminis, I believe. It's the one that, I think is that one the token doubler or the token tripler? I can't remember. And then there's another card. I forgot the name of it. It's another white creature. but it's the token tripler. Those are both on my wish list. They are just both really expensive. And there's been a lot of other cards that like money-wise I've bought before that, but they're on my list and I really hope to get them at some point because they're all really, really good. So anyways, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this deck. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you on my next one.